Welcome back to another episode of Magic's in the Mess, the go-to podcast for ambitious women ready to stop pretending, start aligning, and finally build success your way. I'm your host, Danielle McKinley, speaker, business and wealth strategist, and your go-to problem-solving hype girl. Here, we'll help you unlock powerful mindset shifts, discover your magic, and bring your dream life into reality. Each week, I'll deliver raw stories, proven business strategies, and powerful transformations with industry leaders to activate the magic in you. So if you're ready to ditch the pressure, the performative BS, and the noise telling you who you should be, hit subscribe and let's make some magic. Hey, magic makers. Welcome back to another episode of Magic's in the Mess. I am super excited to have my friends Allie and Hannah here today. This conversation is going to be about wealth, which is a topic you all know I love. They are the founders of Wealth Collaborative, and they work with women entrepreneurs that are high earners, couples who are tired of guessing about their money and are tired of feeling like they should have it all figured out or that they're behind. And the work that they do is about clarity and confidence and giving your money direction so that your dollars actually work for you. And what I love about these two fabulous women is they don't just help you manage money, they really help you trust yourself when it comes to your money. So this episode is going to be like true roundtable fashion. We are going to have some fun things to talk about when it comes to money stories and patterns and trends. And we're just going to jump in. Welcome, ladies, to Magic's in the Mess.
What a great intro. I was like thinking that could be our marketing strategy all wrapped in one. It sounded so great.
It's my gift for you, my friends. I am so happy to have you here. And I love your story. I love your passion around money. I love the fact that, when you just meet people and you're like, these are my people. I like these. These are good humans, like that good vibrational energy. You two have that. And you love helping people about money. So tell us how the Wealth Collaborative was born and a little bit about your stories.
We're so happy to be here and so happy to share. We both came from corporate finance backgrounds, so very male dominated industries, just, working in the good old boys club and making our way. I got to a point where I was like, I'm really good at this finance stuff, but something is feeling so unbelievably misaligned. I wasn't feeling fulfillment. I wasn't feeling like I was serving the people I wanted to serve. I felt like so much information was gatekept, and the people I had a passion for, like women, some who were divorced, some were widowed, some were building businesses. I felt like I couldn't give them the information they needed. So ultimately, I found a career mentor who coached women in finance and really encouraged them to stay in the industry. And that's where she introduced me to Hannah. 2 days before I quit my job, we had our first call. And Hannah happened to be looking for a business partner and had already taken this journey of supporting female entrepreneurs. So I'll let her explain that. But we had a little 90-day fiance, as we like to call it, and Wealth Collaborative was born, and we've been serving female founders ever since.
I love what a serendipitous encounter too. Like 2 days before you're like, say la vie, you find an incredible partner. I love that.
Which is why we've said from the get-go that it was so meant to be, in any challenge that we've gone through, any obstacle that we have faced, the roller coaster ride that we have been on is also worth it, because it was obviously divine timing that happened, that we had this shared passion, and that we also had this shared background and experience. As my story's very similar to Allie's, started in the wealth advising industry right out of college, jumped right into the corporate side where, you're already working with a firm that has an established book of business, coming in, training as an advisor. And both Allie and I's backgrounds, both companies we worked for, specialized in working with high net worth individuals. So not only were we exposed to basic financial education, we were exposed to really high level strategy specifically for the ultra wealthy. And so it gave us this amazing foundation of knowledge that we knew as young women, building our own lives, building our own careers. getting married and having babies, we're like, whoa, this is the stuff that sets you apart when you really know it so much earlier on. And that was what we were hearing, even from the clients that were already retired, that were already in the generation of passing down, funds to their kids and grandkids, was, I just wish I would have known this sooner. I couldn't imagine being where you are and knowing what to do. So that is how the Wealth Collaborative really was born. Was we wanted to help women that looked just like us, women that were
Yeah.
passionate, women that were multidimensional, women that were in the messy middle of doing it all, doing both motherhood, life, career. And the sweet spot for us has really been the world of female founders, because we fit that mold. Our clients really can relate to us just as much as we can relate to them. And we know that so many of these passionate, driven women are building businesses where they're on big missions for impact, and that creates so much financial success for their family. But it also can create financial stress because they've built the success so fast that they don't know what to do with it, especially if they
Mhm.
are maybe a first generation entrepreneur, or, they just didn't grow up with strong money values, with a family that, did well financially. So that's where we love to support women, is those that are on a mission and want to create more impact with their income for both their families and for their clients and businesses.
So good. Okay. Hannah, I love all of that. And I'm really curious to know from both of you, because what I love about the way that you work with entrepreneurs is that you're an entrepreneur too, which is not the case for many financial advisors. Because one of the things I talk about is how it's just like book experience, not lived experience. And you guys are incredible because you have both. And I think there's a lot of power in that. So, for the people that you serve, and Hannah, I know you and I have talked about this, and Allie, we did a little bit at Minted. I'm a big believer in discovering your money story. Have you
Mhm.
recognized patterns in some of the individuals that you're like, "Ooh, I see that. That keeps happening." And if so, tell us a little bit about them.
Yeah, Hannah, I know you'll have a lot to share on this, but I'll go first with just one that comes to mind. There was a money story pattern that was coming up for one family, and maybe even a couple of families, where she thought rich people were bad. And so the fact that she was making money made her feel really guilty. Receiving that money felt like she was greedy, like everything she grew up believing about rich people was going to become true for herself. And we talked about it like, hey, have you ever gone to a restaurant and had a really, really great experience there? And you compare notes with your friend, and they were like, that was the worst experience ever. We had the worst waiter. They were so rude, but maybe your experience was different. And I'm like, guess what? You get to be somebody else's reason for meeting somebody who is well off, that can show that wealth in the hands of good hearted women and families can make such a different impact on people. I think that transition of just thinking about it from different perspectives can really help people. Hannah, what
Mhm.
have you recognized? There's so many we could cover.
I know, so many. I think for a good majority of our clients, they have seen financial success happen really quickly, because in this rise of female entrepreneurship, I call it, like, since like the 2018 roller coaster, right? When it was, becoming so popular to start your own business, and it became easier
Mhm.
than ever with social media, and then COVID putting people in circumstances where they were leaving traditional jobs, that a lot of women have come into financial success really quickly. And because they've now, been able to generate hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, we're actually seeing a lot of women come up and share that they have still a scarcity mindset. Even though there is an abundance of funds, there is an abundance of possibility. They now have a proven process for their business, the need that's out there in the world. We tend to find that making personal financial decisions still feels hard because they're holding on to this idea of like, but what if it doesn't stick around? What if I can't trust myself to do the right thing with it? What if, what if something happens? And so there's almost an interesting paradigm happening where entrepreneurship is a huge risk, but then we're
Mhm.
still seeing some women who feel risk averse when it comes to making decisions with their money because now that they have it, they want to keep it. And the idea of investing it, the idea of making it work for them, especially if they didn't grow up in, a household where that was talked about, where it was, part of how their family was building wealth. It feels so hard, and they really want to make sure that they're protecting what they've built. So that's the cool part about where we come in is we are acting as that trusted partner with them to really hold their hand through that process of taking some of the first steps of overcoming the scarcity mindset, mainly so that they don't work themselves into the ground forever because now they have money that can go work for them.
Yeah, I see that one so much, especially because like the millennial generation and up, we grew up seeing our parents, they traded time for money, most people, right? It wasn't this like, oh, you can make money in your sleep with a digital product era. And in seeing that, then we modeled that behavior. And so we adopted this mindset of like we have to work really hard in order to receive the money. And if you're in a state where you observe things going high and lows, like those are two of the five that I see all the time. And it's so important that you understand your money story. So when you're listening to these, if you were like nodding your head and you're like, oh my gosh, that's me, it's so important to go a little bit further with that because then you can implement the strategies that they teach and they'll stick and work and they'll feel good in your nervous system, not just sound good and they're like, we have proof, we've seen it, but you'll actually begin to believe it and embody it. And that's when money starts to feel good. Would you agree to that?
100%. I think there's an element of learning how to trust yourself with money. That
Mhm.
self love, self trust, it translates so much into your financial picture. When you start making decisions that are actually going to help your future self, you can really start trusting yourself. And it feels so good in your body and your nervous system. No stress, which is great.
Yes. Love. Okay, let's talk a little bit about, let's go a little deeper on the patterns and trends. So, when clients first come to you, what are they usually struggling with that they don't say out loud? Because that's the messy part. That's the part behind the curtain where we're like, let's take a peek.
The number one thing that comes to mind is honestly cash flow.
Mm,
And now that sounds like a nitty gritty topic, but we're going to go nitty gritty with it because so many women focus when they're a business owner, they focus on their top line number. They focus on revenue. They are being coached and mentored to hit these goals, which is all so wonderful. But those goals are really just arbitrary goals if we're not really having deeper discussions on how to manage the money that comes in when it's time for the money to go out. So, when we're talking with clients and we're not necessarily in the weeds of their businesses, we're not
mhm.
CFOs, we're not bookkeepers. We have clients that have those members of their teams that we collaborate with, and it's amazing when we can do that. But when a client is very unclear of their revenue, their expenses, and more so their profit margin in their business, it's very hard for us to make decisions on making personal wealth investments. Because our goal with a lot of clients is hey, you're building this incredible business, but not every business is being built to scale and sell one day. So it's super important to be building wealth personally outside of your business. And where are we going to get the funds to do that? From the income that you can take from your business, but income comes from profit. So when we're trying to pull together all of the numbers to make recommendations on investment accounts, different pieces of real estate they're interested in or any other investment opportunity, it's so hard to do that because so many women don't understand their cash flow. So we really have to go back to the basics before we can even elevate their strategy to start building wealth to make sure we have a solid foundation and understanding of the numbers because sometimes they come to us with really high revenue, maybe even a multi seven figure business and a very messy books, very messy profit margins, and they're way overspending in categories that, aren't serving them. And in turn, they're not taking home the income that they should as the CEO of the business.
Yeah, Hannah, that's exactly what I thought of. We have a lot of people who come to us that are very rich in their business and they're very poor in their personal life. They haven't figured out how to integrate. They also haven't maybe taken the space because they're growing so quickly to get asked, "What's your plan? Do you want to exit the company one day? Or not. You don't have to, but it is important to start moving money out of that business into your personal wealth buckets to build something that you can live on eventually."
Yeah. Oh, I love this one. I see it all the time because I like to call it the life creep too. So people will be like, yeah, I'm making like multi seven figures. And it's like, no, no, no. I didn't ask what you're making. What are you keeping? And what are we doing with what we're keeping? Are we blowing it? Are we investing it? Or is it working for us? What jobs are we giving those dollars? Right. So talk a little bit about, and I think that that's where the shame comes in because money is energy and shame is wrapped up in it because you have these people, these examples we just gave, where they're rich in business, right? Poor in personal. And what does that do? It reinforces that shame feeling, right? Because they're like, oh my gosh, they're looking at the numbers and they're going, I'm making so much money. Where the hell is all of it? And it's because they're not tracking the cash flow. So, magic makers, if you take anything away from this episode today, it is get in the know with your cash flow. Where is it going? It's not about the numbers, it's not about how much you're earning, it's not about your gross revenue, it's about what is your net for you, and then what are we doing with that money to make it work? So I love that. When you see, let's talk a little bit about couples, okay? Because there are money is a funky thing in relationship, right? Some couples talk about it, some don't. Some merge it all together, some do it independently. What are some of the things that you see with couples and tips you could give them to feel better as a couple with their money?
I think where we start with every couple that we do get the pleasure of working with, because it depends. We do work with female founders who are married, but we take on the initial couple of meetings with them solo and we bring their spouse into the conversation later. Everyone's a little different, but when we have the ability to sit down with a couple that desires to create their family's wealth strategy, we start by having them each tell us their own individual money stories. And
Love it.
sometimes it is the first time that a husband or a wife or partners are hearing the other one really express out loud because they're being asked by a third party to give us insight into their world. Sometimes it's the first time they're hearing different pieces of the puzzle, or maybe they're like, man, I've known you for 15 years and I knew that about your life or your background, but I didn't know you were still carrying that belief. I didn't know that that's why you make decisions that way. I didn't know why that was coming up as a conflict in all of our conversations. So that is really where we start with each client, is having them tell us their individual money stories, because we can help them understand that, okay, we might be taking these two polar opposite views of money and working to create a wealth strategy that both makes sense logically, but also feels good for each of you as we're creating this for your family. So our money stories are so tied to our life growing up, our childhood, what we observed. But if you're planning financially with another person, that is now your family's money story that you're creating, oftentimes for, your children. So we do ask them, we're like, what do you want your children to say about their money story? And we really help them pull it all together. Um, because that's really the foundation of how we can get through some of these big decisions and difficult conversations is making sure we all understand what our individual beliefs are.
I feel like too, another thing that we do is we organize things in a way where a couple can celebrate all that they've accomplished together. And
Mhm,
you don't always do that as a couple. We don't advertise having, a byproduct of financial strategy being a healthier marriage slash maybe even better sex life. But you know
hey,
what?
say it.
Our
You heard it
clients,
here first. It's true.
yes, our clients always leave feeling so much more bonded with their spouse. And I'll reference something Jay Shetty has said. He and his wife had to negotiate ways that they did dishes after dinner. Jay
Mhm,
preferred to do the dishes after they had dessert, after they hung out for a bit. His wife preferred to do the dishes first and then enjoy dessert and hang out. And
mhm,
they used to get in fights about that. They used to get angry at each other. But in finding a deeper understanding of, oh, I actually grew up this way, this is how I did it so that I could spend better quality time with you. There's so many nuances in money like that. Like, you may be screaming at your husband, like, "You don't care about me, you're so cheap." But really, there's so many layers to that. Maybe he's actually being cheap because he cares about you. And if there's a better way to translate that into the financial strategy so he feels safe, you
mhm.
may actually feel your husband is a very generous person, or your wife if she's on the scarcity side. So there's so many layers and nuances, but Hannah said it best, just finding a deeper understanding of those beliefs can create such a wonderful platform for your family to move forward.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it all comes back to the money story, right? So that's why it truly is the foundation of your wealth plan is really understanding what does that look like because any strategies and fixes and things you even do in your business with like sales or marketing and leadership, they are all they all are tied together. There's the through line is your money story. And for couples, I always like to compare it to like the five love languages, right? We all know that there's really like from the studies that I've done, it comes down to about five archetypes that have an overarching theme of the story, the things that you experienced with money, and then the way that you think about it or interact with it. And so it's like when
Mhm.
you understand that language of each other, it helps improve your sex life, your marriage, your bond, all of it. And so I
Yeah.
think the big takeaway here is spend some time if you haven't and you're listening to this, really asking yourself, what experiences did I have around money? What feelings did I have? How do I show up? How do I spend it? What does it feel like to have a higher amount in my account? What does it feel like when it leaves? And start to
Mhm.
get comfortable with that because it sounds like simple, right? It's not easy, but it does
Yeah.
change everything. So I love
I
that so much.
I will say too, and this is me totally tooting our own horn, but this is not a topic covered when you walk into any traditional financial advisor's office. They start with the numbers. They might start by asking you about your goals. Do you want to send your kids to college? When do you want to retire? They kind of all ask very similar questions that are just revolved around the numbers, but money is emotional. It is energy, like Danielle said. And so we have to start with understanding our thoughts, our beliefs, how it feels in our body before we can even get into any logistical conversations. And so that's one of the things that we're very proud of that clients don't expect to get out of working with us, but we still bring this almost like financial therapy to the table. And then we get into the strategy where we talk about how to make them, you know, very wealthy and help
Toot
them
toot,
get rich.
sister, because I'm gonna toot toot some more because this is the reason that I love you guys is because it needs to change. Like we kind of just accept that that's the experience, right? Like why do we accept that? Oh, that's just how it's always been. Well, just because that's how it's always been doesn't mean that's how it always has to be. And there needs to be a shift with it. And the reason it's cookie cutter is because they've developed a process at, I'm just gonna say it, Fidelity, Schwab, all the big names, Edward Jones, and they have a workflow that works. Of course, it works. And I'm not saying those are bad organizations by any stretch. However, if you want a different experience, you want somebody who's walking the walk, you want somebody who is building alongside you and is not just trained and then hired and is an employee, then you want to work with the Wealth Collaborative because it's a different move and money should feel good. And really think about it. If you're listening to this and you just met with your financial advisor because you waited till the last minute, like most people do, and they shouldn't, and you left and you kind of felt like ick, you kind of felt like overwhelmed, you felt maybe you maybe felt like they made you not, what's the word I'm looking for? Almost like you just felt like you didn't know anything, right?
Incompetent.
They're better than you,
Yeah.
and you don't have to, it doesn't have to be that way. Go talk to Hannah and Allie. Okay. So that's my toot toot because that's how I really feel. Now, let's get into misconceptions because there are quite a few misconceptions that are worked into financial advisors. And I would love to hear what you think they are or what you see when you blow people's mind.
Mm. I mean, the one I can think of before I move on, I just want to say I appreciate what you said. And I do feel like some of these negative emotions like shame can be really
Mhm.
positive indicators for ourselves. Sometimes negative emotions are telling us, ooh, something's out of alignment. Maybe I need to figure something out so that all the pieces work together. So thank you for saying that and tooting our horn for us. But as far as misconceptions, I mean, one we get all the time is I need to have, millions and millions and millions of dollars to work with a wealth advisor. We think about wealth advisory similar to having health in your life. You should have health with your body. You should also have financial health. So just like you pay a health insurance premium every single month so that you can go visit your doctor if you're ever sick, slash needing annual checkups to make sure you are so healthy. You also need that with a financial advisor. It's not something that's only for the ultra wealthy. But hey, if you're someone who wants to become ultra wealthy or you're on a
Mhm.
path to be there, how important is it to already have a relationship with somebody you already really trust? Because once you get to that point of being ultra wealthy, maybe you're in a whole nother playing field where you're like, who can I trust? Are they friends with me because I'm super rich, or do they actually care about me and my family? So there's so much there of just start before you think you need to start with a wealth advisor.
Love that.
Amen. That was honestly the exact one I was going to say because it's the truest statement and it is what we hear from a lot of those founders who are rich in their business. We call it being
Cool.
rich in revenue. We want to help them become rich beyond revenue. And we honestly get on a lot of calls with women who are so excited about what we do and they express like I haven't done this. I know I need to do this, but I feel like I need to hit X amount of revenue first. And we're always like, but just like to Allie's point, if you are already on your way there, if you are scaling, we don't need to wait for the money to come in. We need to create the plan. We need to understand your goals. We need to know what is that money actually going to accomplish for you and your life, not just for being able to put a gold star on your computer and say, yay, now I'm a 7-figure business owner. Like, what did that actually mean for your life? And that's what we help so many women uncover when we help them become rich beyond revenue. And
Yeah.
so that truly is the whole point. And the misconception is a lot of women think they have to arrive to some destination, whether it's because they just think, like Ali said, I don't have enough already in the bank, or I haven't made it yet, or there's other financial priorities I need to prioritize first. Really, that's not the case. When we can set such a strong foundation, it makes the conversations as you're scaling and earning more so much more enjoyable, so much easier, and you would have a clear direction of why the heck you are working so hard and managing it all to grow your business because you really understand how the money is going to tie back to fulfilling your personal life's mission and goals for your family. So that's definitely the biggest one is too many women waiting way too long to get started and to work with somebody that can really help them.
I love this. Okay, so you're listening to this and you're like, I feel attacked. because you've been waiting and you haven't done the thing and you had this misconception of I have to have so much money. It's like anything else. Like, think about I'm sure there's something that happened for sure in the last 4 weeks because we just got out of the holiday chaos that you're like, "Why did I wait so long to do that?" And it felt so good once you cross it off the list. This is the same thing. And the resistance that you feel to getting your money plan in place is an excuse that's probably tied to your money story wrapped in a nice little bow of some sort of shame. Okay? And the longer you wait, the more you are losing because let's talk about compounding interest and thinking that you have to wait to have this certain amount of money to start saving the money or implementing the plan is something I want you to absolutely eliminate from your thought process after this episode. Because the sooner you start, the better off you're going to be, the faster you're going to build that money muscle, the faster you're going to build that confidence, and the sooner you're going to start to make the impact that you're doing all of this for anyway. Impact on yourself, impact on your time freedom, your family, your friends, your community, whatever it is that's motivating you. So, ladies, let's give the Magic Maker community a quick, like, compounding interest one-on-one, ready, go.
We'll give you the example that we all learn in like our 101 books. So you can imagine a snowball rolling down a hill. The snowball starts kind of small, and that's your initial investment. And as you have time in the market, so your investment or the stock that you bought continues to grow, it's rolling down this snowy hill and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And so the more time you spend in the market, the bigger your nest egg will be at the end. That's just like the simplest way to think about it is, ooh, when my money is invested, I can make more money. It can compound. Did I explain that well, Hannah?
Please
Yeah,
tell me they call that the avalanche theory. Like, it should be like, if they haven't, let's get them the trademark notification because that's what it is, right? I love it.
Yeah.
exactly right. And the whole point is, again, going back to waiting until you think you have enough to start, or until you've made enough. When you start, just simply by starting, that compounding effect kicks in right away, and you can always contribute more. What happens, say you delay, you put this off your to-do list for a year, for 2 years, God forbid it's been on your to-do list for 5 or 10 years or longer. What you actually then have to do is you have to play catch up. And the way that you play catch up is by contributing more than you would have had to if you would have started a year sooner, 5 years sooner, 10 years sooner. So we've given this example before. I don't have the actual numbers in front of me, but say you're in your 30s, and in order to reach your financial goal in 20 years, you have to contribute $1,000 a month, and you can do that consistently for 20 years and hit your goal. If you waited until you were 40 and you wanted to hit that same goal by 50, you only have 10 years to do it now. And it's not just doubling that investment. It wouldn't be $2,000 a month because of the way compound interest works. We're going to be looking at potentially tripling or quadrupling the amount that you're putting in on a monthly basis so that the money has time to catch up. So we do all of these fancy behind the scenes calculations for clients to really show them what's possible, but also to encourage them to start wherever they are at now, and we can always build upon it later. But if we simply just push it off and keep waiting until we think the money is going to be there, you're going to have to work a heck of a lot harder to earn more so that your money can go make more. So it's always better to start today wherever you are at than to start later by far.
Y'all, wealth collaborative avalanche theory. Hear us out. Get with your compounding interests. Wherever it is, with whoever, I recommend to be with them. But you need to start compounding, make your money work for you. Okay. Like, I just made a post this week that's like, for the love, it is 2026, stop using a debit card. Okay. Because debit cards don't make you any money. Credit cards with rewards make you money for spending your money. So, at the very least, one little step you could do today to start getting on that journey is quit using your debit card and call my friends. Okay. Now I want to like switch gears. We're going to do kind of a hard left here because I'm really interested. I think that this is Magic's in the Mess, right? So the messy middle, the mistakes, that's where we learn things. So I want to go into some of the bad habits that you see happen that are sort of like aha light bulb moments that I feel like someone listening to this might need to hear today. So, top bad habits that you see.
One we actually see a lot is when you have this distrust with yourself, you're not trusting yourself with your money, you might actually start hiding accounts from yourself to avoid spending the money. I've had
Oh,
multiple clients hide money or just like, I don't want to log into that account. I don't want to check on it. Well, we would prefer you use that money to work towards one of your goals because what can often happen is it can be allocated incorrectly. You may not even have that money invested. And we definitely want that money working while you're sleeping. It's so much better than avoiding just the feeling of distrust with your money.
so Allie, go a little bit deeper on that. So you see that as a common theme, right? So what are somebody that's doing that? Somebody who's listening to this and they're like, "Shit, that's me." What are some of the things that you teach them to do to pattern interrupt and to make it so they don't have that feeling of, "I don't wanna look at those accounts"?
So we typically start with every client going deep into their money story and finding a deeper alignment that feels good in their body. So no two strategies actually are the same. Some people really like an automatic payment schedule, right? Some people really like doing things manually because they like some sense of control over it. But with that alignment, to avoid hiding accounts from yourself, it's giving your money a job. It's finding alignment within the goals that you want set. So, hey, for example, I can think of a client that was hiding an account from herself that really wanted to go to Paris. Well, we can make that happen sooner if we actually start investing your account strategically and avoid putting money where it doesn't need to be. And like connecting those two dots of like,
Mhm.
oh, this is something I actually really care about and want to do. And my money is going to actually help me get there. It's just a tool. It's not this scary thing that can
Mhm.
cause shame, that can have this dark cloud over my life. It really helps connect the dots there.
Okay, I love that. So when you listen to this and you were like, crap, that was me, I'm called out. Number one, that's okay. We all have a story. And my favorite thing to do is to help people see that they're not alone. And there's literally usually five types. So if you're feeling that way and you're listening to this, what I want you to do is really ask yourself, why, what am I hiding from? Like, spend a minute to sit there and ask yourself, why don't I want to see this account? What feelings come up for me when I go to the keyboard and go to log in? What am I afraid of seeing? And then keep going. It's like finish the movie. It's the story in your head. Like what will happen if you look at it? Then what will that mean? Like continue to peel back the layer so that you can uncover what it is. Because one other thing, like to add to the tactical stuff of like stop using a debit card, stop letting your money sit in an account that's not a high yield savings account at minimum, right? Like let's at minimum, if it needs to sit there because we're still working through some of our money story, let's at least put it there and know that it exists and it's saving for that Paris trip or something, right? Okay, I love that one. So, Hannah, what about you?
So I'm going to peel back the curtain and say things that I feel like aren't getting said, but we're going into 2026 and the landscape is definitely changing in the world of entrepreneurship. Is and Allie and I too have had our own. She's shaking her head because she knows exactly what I'm going to say. We as entrepreneurs, which is what makes us such a great fit to work with the women we work with, we have made this mistake ourselves too. And that is the shiny object syndrome of paying for investments. And I'm going to put air quotes investments into
Mhm.
your business that really truly are not going to provide you with an ROI. So there is a plethora of places and people that can help us grow and scale businesses, whether it's a coach or whether it's working with a rebrand marketing agency or whatever it is. There's so many great opportunities, but what we've seen a lot of founders do is make financial decisions that really weren't aligned with the goals that they had to grow their businesses strategically. And in turn, that money that they spent did not provide them with the ROI that they had hoped. And then we're sitting there with missed opportunity for, like we've said,
Mhm.
which no investment is guaranteed, not even on the wealth building side of what Allie and I do is guaranteed. But it's kind of this decision a lot of entrepreneurs make, the shiny object syndrome decision of being pulled towards something emotionally and not logically, right? There is a time and a place for every investment, personal or business. Um, but we definitely have heard case studies of people that are like, my gosh, I just spent, you know, $30,000 on this coaching program. And then I didn't even have the time to really dive into it. And
Mhm.
I feel like the investment was wasted. And so it's really getting clarity, thinking through, and calculating out the actual ROI of any investment, whether it's in your business or to build your personal wealth. That is, it's a big mistake that a lot of women do carry that guilt and shame from. And we're helping a lot of women overcome. We have been working on overcoming some of our own financial decisions as business owners. Um, but yeah, it's a big one and it's happening all around us right now. And the caveat here is don't stop investing in yourself, in your business. We're obviously huge champions of doing so. But I think people are being a little bit more meticulous for good reason
Yeah.
about how they're calculating the investments that they are making moving forward.
So I love this because in my coaching programs, I teach about your Harmony Hustler compass. Okay. Because we want to do big things, we got to take action. But we don't have to like hustle culture is dead, right? We can do it in harmony where balance is bullshit, but we can feel good on the highs and the lows of the roller coaster. Right. So if you heard that from Hannah and you were like, crap, I definitely get shiny object syndrome. And yep, I definitely have invested in something that I didn't get my ROI and I didn't have the time for it. One of the things that I recommend doing is it's the beginning of the year, it's January 2026. You have that new energy and vibe about it. Really map out what you want and then figure out a parameter and questions to ask yourself when new things come up. Does this align with this move? Is this moving the needle to where I said I want to go? Because you are 10 times more likely to do the thing. Number one, if you write it down and commit to it and share it with someone. And number two, if you have a filter, so your compass is like your filter to go, does this make sense? And if you're wavering on it and you're hemming and hawing and you're going back and forth, that's usually an indication from your intuition that it's not in alignment. It's just something that you might enjoy or something that could bring some excitement. Okay, so try and figure out how you can help yourself because we all know like we don't want shiny object syndrome, right? But what are we doing to make sure that we have something to anchor in to help us when that little shiny diamond shows up in front of our face? So and to same, like guilty. Guilty is charged, okay? I'm like a salesperson's dream because I'm like, "Yes, I'll take it. Oh, yeah, that's nice." So I have my Harmony Hustler compass all dialed in for me. I'm not gonna say that I'll be perfect this year, but I have a really clear strategy and system to help me navigate it. So I think that that is huge.
I love that compass slash like North Star of it all. I think with the shiny object syndrome too, sometimes it's like throwing money at things that we think will feel good and like we want to be a part of. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's also we're trying to solve a problem for ourselves, but we don't really know where to go. So we have clients that come in who really don't have a lot of time. And in order to solve that, they've hired four different coaches in different
Mm,
areas instead of just maybe they really needed an operations person first,
mm, yep.
and then they can invest in coaches and the things that will really move the dial forward, just be a little bit more intentional or have that strong compass, like you said, in making those
Mhm.
investment decisions.
Well, and I'm glad you said this, and this might be something that you all do, but I am a big fan. Like, I hate the word budget because it's restrictive. So I always am like, what? job am I assigning the dollar? Like literally every time I use my credit card, I'm like, ooh, that was a fun dollar. Ooh, that was a help dollar. Ooh, that was a move me forward dollar, right? And it makes it fun when you're spending the money. So I like to allocate because I love people. And so there's certain things where I'm like, ah, that's not really like part of the business plan, but it would be fun to go. So I like to allocate funds to assign those dollars the job of bringing me that joy. So that's also something that you can do. And that's another sort of compass and gate around it. That's like, oh, we're out of the funds there. So we got to stick to the plan, right? Just something that I do that makes it a little bit more fun for me. Okay. So I want to ask you a final like tactical question and then I want to celebrate some wins with you. So the final tactical question that I have for you is that something I see in the financial advisor world is and wealth planning world is that people almost put pressure on you to decide so many other things beyond finances. And I believe that you need a full team in order to really have a full wealth plan. So, speak to that a little bit on what you see. And if you feel that pressure yourself from clients where they're like, you're my North Star, like, you have all my answers.
Yeah, that's a great question. We do have clients that come in that haven't really aired some of these thoughts out, and they have
Right.
a lot of goals that they want to accomplish. I think part of it is establishing what's priority for right now. So if you want an investment property, but you also are having another baby and you also are bringing on a team member and you also are wanting to hire this new coach, there's a lot of moving pieces. So figuring out, okay, well, what is the most important thing to you right now? And then mapping out, of course, down the line, we can map out your future goals. But we normally, because we're advisors, we have a long-term relationship with clients, which means just like your spouses will see 10 versions of yourself in this lifetime, we'll likely see 10 versions of a client. So 1 year from now, their goals are going to be completely different. They
Mhm.
maybe even have a life event that completely changed the trajectory of their year, positive or negative. And so we're there to kind of navigate those shifts and changes. It is very important too that Hannah and I stay in our lane. Our goal is to help you meet your personal wealth goals. Now, so many things touch that tax
Mhm.
strategy, your life insurance policy, your protections, everything that you need. So, we do collaborate with attorneys, tax advisors to make sure you have a really strong team and pull towards working towards your personal goals. I think what's cool is like, we wanna save you money in taxes 100%, but we're hopefully going to be guiding that holistic wealth strategy to make sure, like, okay, that tax saving strategy completely makes sense for the goals that you have versus, "Ooh, okay, that one's really cool, but we're gonna wait a year because we know you're putting money towards your home renovation right now, and it doesn't quite make sense for us to lock that up in a retirement account." So push and pull, lots of versions of people, but we can always talk through things and air things out so that people have a more clear path forward.
Love. Hannah, you want to add anything?
No, she gave a perfect answer. I will say that that is exactly why when we founded the company, the Wealth Collaborative just made sense because again, talking about a little bit of the differences between being a traditional wealth advisor in the past and how they do things versus how we do
Mhm.
things is that women do need the collaboration between all of the different moving puzzle pieces of their life and of their finances to make it all make sense because your money is funding your life's mission, right? So, and that is our North Star when we're working with clients is keeping you on track for the things that you told us were important to you. So we become, the partner that is translating that to their tax strategy team, to their life insurance agent, to, their mortgage lender they're working with. And even again, going back to that communication within households and within,
Mhm.
spouses. So that has been by far the coolest part for us is bringing that unique perspective and really fostering this very open, collaborative environment so that everything can just be focused on what the client wants so that they can live their best life. That's the whole point.
So good. And that's where you do it different, right? Because you're taking in everything and you guys can now see why they are fabulous. So you need to tell the magic makers where they can find you. If it matters, I know like we have nationwide listeners, so make sure to include that. But tell us the best way for anyone listening that's like, I'm ready to take the step. I'm ready to get some help. I'm ready to have a financial planner slash therapist because let's be real, you are. That's part of it, right? Where can we find you?
You can find us on Instagram or our website. Our Instagram handle is The Wealth Collaborative. Our website is thewealthcollaborative.co. If you want to apply, just click the apply button and or the work with us and you can book a free 30-minute call with our team and we can chat all the things wealth building.
Love.
We also do have for those of you that are like, I need somebody to tell me right now where my money should go. What order do I need to prioritize things? We have created the wealth building checklist, which will provide Danielle you with the link so you can put that in the show notes. But we literally go step by step inside of this checklist of what we're walking our clients through as we're building their wealth strategies. So it's a great way for you to get a gut check on what do I already have accomplished for 2026 and what are some of those next steps that I should be thinking about. And if you're already even working with a financial advisor, it's a great way to kind of go down this checklist and be like, are they really helping me accomplish all of these things or are some of these ideas missing? We find that too, that there's a lot of missing gaps with clients that have current financial planners just simply because they don't know the full picture. So the wealth building checklist is a great resource that we have. But of course, we would love for any of you who are interested to book a call with us. It's Allie and myself, and we just want to get to know you and hear more about your goals.
Awesome. And just because I know that we're going to get the questions, you can help anyone in any state. You guys are nationwide, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, my friends. So you will find that in the show notes. So if you are on your walk, if you are getting the kids ready, you are in the car driving and you're like, shoot, I couldn't write any of that down. It'll all be in the show notes for you and including the checklist. And on the show, I think it is so important that we celebrate our small wins because I think as busy entrepreneurs, we don't take enough time to like stop and reflect. And we have little micro wins every week, right? And those micro wins are what stack up and get us to the big goals that we're working towards. So I would love if each of you would share a magic moment that happened to you in the last week that we can all help rally and celebrate with you.
Do you want to go
In the
first,
last
Anna?
week,
I
in
know,
the
last
last
Yes, the last week.
we were just talking about at the beginning of this podcast that this last week has felt like being on a rocket ship coming back from the new year. But that being said, we kicked off the new year having two calls with potential clients that are just amazing women. It brings us so much joy to be working with women who are also on a mission. And
Agreed.
we just had such great conversations about what their goals were for 2026, where they're headed in business and in life with their families, their kiddos. And it was so rewarding to hear their enthusiasm for adding in working with us as part of their goals for 2026 so they can really elevate um, their wealth strategy. So we've just been excited to be having so many conversations with women who are really making this a priority. So I think that was a big win for this week is just kicking off the new year knowing that we get to work with really amazing female founders.
I love that. It's probably so energizing too because people are sharing their dreams and their excitement. So that's such a great win. Yay. All right. What about you, Allie?
I have a small personal micro win. I'm really focused this year on increasing my attention span. I think
Okay.
everyone's attention span is only like 23 seconds and I'm like, okay, that's not that's not enough time to get an email sent or whatever you have to do. So I've been doing this new method. I forget what it's called. It's probably popular on TikTok or whatever, but I set my timer for 45 minutes and don't look at anything, no emails, no texts, and I get my projects done, and then I can pivot and set another timer. And that's been really helpful this week. So that's definitely my win. It's just a new structure in my life.
And
That
then
is
she's come back
such a
about
fun tip.
45 minutes with, like, a text from me, a Voxer from me, an email from me, and she's like, "Whoa."
I'm not ghosting you, Hannah, I promise.
It's like a shift too, because if you're normally somebody that's, like, quick to respond, it's like a retrain for everybody who's used to getting those responses, right?
Totally.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys so much for pouring into the Magic Makers community. It was such a pleasure to have you. You all can see this is exactly why I wanted to have Allie and Hannah here to help share their wealth of knowledge. And if today's conversation resonated with you and you're ready to stop guessing and start assigning your dollars better jobs, you can find Allie and Hannah in the show notes. And I highly recommend that you go connect with them, get your compounding interest going, stop waiting. The sooner you peel off the band-aid, the sooner you get to have more fun and feel good around your money. So ladies, thank you. And Magic Makers, we will see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.